You're gonna struggle to find a mouse that's more interesting than this one. This is the RIGID CLR1, a fully custom 3D printed shell wrapping a top spec motherboard, offering the most unique gaming mouse on the market. The fact that this is made by a solo maker is already incredible, and the attention to detail and quality is unbelievable. Let's take a look at this thing and see exactly what you get, so you can decide quickly if you want to get your hands on this limited edition and rather exclusive mouse. But first, let's stare at it. This is by far the most unique looking mouse I've seen in, well, possibly ever. This tiny little wedge is just 80mm long, 62mm wide, and 20mm tall. It's a fingertip grip mouse, meaning there's no bulge for your palm to rest on. It has slightly angled but otherwise flat sides for your thumb, ring, and pinky fingers to rest on. And the left and right clicks are perfectly flat and straight all the way from the back spring points. The scroll pops up, but otherwise, that's it. That's the mouse. The scaffolding inside means that even the solid looking sections are actually hollow, which means that this thing, PCB and all, weighs just 27 grams. On my scale, it's actually closer to 26 grams for my unit, which is absolutely wild. We're over here going mad over mice that are just under 50 grams, and here's a 3D printed boy that's half of that. It's amazing. And this doesn't feel 3D printed. There's no layer lines, there's no trace other than the slightly rough texture from the SLS powder, which actually helps a lot with grip. The micro texture here, even after the finishing polishing step that will come in the final units you'll be buying, gives the perfect level of grip that is honestly much nicer than rubber and miles better than the perfectly smooth plastic you get on injection molded shells. The other key benefit 3D printing offers, besides the inherent roughness and otherwise impossible geometry, is the ability to rather easily customize the design. RIGID is offering a direct one-on-one customization session where you can pick not only the color, but any text or designs you want added in, especially up by the sort of back of the left and right clicks. They've actually sent over a bunch of the other shells to give you an idea, both one in every colorway that you can pick from, that being red, orange, purple, blue, green, and black, and a number of interesting designs. Everything from text to a scary octopus head. This is where you can make it yours. You can fully make it your own properly, not just engraved like an iPhone, but truly yours. And that's pretty sweet. The customization doesn't really stop there though, as even the PTFE pads can be as minimal as one on each corner, like this one, or if you've got a softer mouse mat, you can add up to 12 in total around basically the entire perimeter, which combined with the complete lack of weight means that this thing glides like a dream. It's so smooth, sliding so damn easily that it isn't even funny. That means that this acts as an almost non-existent extension of your arm and lets you translate your desire into clicking heads into actions so easily. But one thing we haven't yet talked about is the specs. What sort of sensor and microcontroller have we got going on here? Well, in here is a Zaunkönig M3K PCB, which offers a PixArt PAW3399 sensor, an STM32F7 MCU with open source firmware that can offer up to 8000 Hz, changeable liftoff distance and CPI, and Omron D2F-01F switches. That's some pretty decent highlights, right? I mean, that 3399 sensor is good for 20,000 CPI, not that you'll ever use it anywhere near that, 650 inches per second of tracking speed, up to 50 Gs of acceleration, and 1, 2, or 3 millimeters of liftoff distance. That sensor is basically the same one that you find in most gaming mice in the last couple of years, so naturally this feels great tracking-wise. I'm still working on my peripheral testing tool to be able to give you any useful data on this, but at least to the arm, This feels great. There's no hitching to speak of, it feels nice and smooth. There are a few quirks from that M3K PCB, like, while this does have the option to run at 1, 2, 4 or 8000 Hz, or have programmable CPI, programmable liftoff distance, the way that you access those controls isn't by opening a bit of software, or going to a web serial website, or even pressing dedicated buttons on the mouse. No, you lift the mouse off the desk, hold left and right click buttons down for 5 seconds, and then the mouse will start moving on its own on screen. You then press left or right clicks to change the CPI, then hold the buttons again to exit out. To change the liftoff distance and polling rate, you'll need to hold those buttons for 10 seconds, and then it'll make a square to show you your liftoff distance, and then draw either a 1, 2, 4 or 8 with the cursor to show you what setting it's on for the polling rate. Holding the buttons again lets you exit out, which is just wild. Once you've set it up how you want though, it'll return to being a normal-ish mouse, and a bloody good one at that. The mixture of insane lightness, smooth tracking, and effortless gliding, and actually beautifully tactile clicks, makes this a dream to game with. The fingertip grip style is definitely, it takes some getting used to. In fact, I still don't think I really have it down even after a week of toying with it, but at least the size is suitable for basically any hands. And it's still a great little thing to game with. That lightness means that setting it to a really low CPI and flicking like there's no tomorrow is absolutely no problem. There's no fatigue here, just fun. Naturally, I did use my open source latency testing tool, available at osrtt.com, link in the description, to test the click latency, and I'm incredibly impressed. Whether it's due to the distinct lack of pre-travel, the shell sits tightly on the actual switches, so actuating the switch is almost instant, or what, this is the best mouse I've tested for latency. Just 1.6 milliseconds of click latency on average. For context, the Death Adder V3 Hyperspeed took 2.5 milliseconds on average, and even Glorious's Model D2 Pro running wired at 8000 Hz took 2.2 milliseconds on average. So this is truly top notch. Now there are a couple of little problems, like the cable. While it's nice and long, incredibly thin and lightweight, it's just loose coming out the front of the mouse. It's held in purely by the micro Molex connector in there with no strain relief at all. Now I mentioned this to RIGID when they were talking me through the mouse initially, and they came back with an updated design which includes a clip, so the cable is actually attached to the shell rather than running wild. I also suggested adding a taper or something to that clip so that if the cable gets snagged, it's pulling on the sheathing rather than the delicate pins and wires. And again, they were excellent at incorporating feedback and came back with this modified version. So yeah, all customer units will now have strain relief built in. That level of communication, understanding, and continuous improvement is incredibly rare these days, so I have to thank RIGID for their excellent attitude and dedication. We need more of that in the tech world, or actually in the world in general. Another obvious catch is the lack of the usual amenities gaming mice offer. Not just software or even hardware buttons to customize your experience, but extra features like optical switches, LED lighting. Not that I ever really understood why you would care, because it's literally covered by your hand the entire time. Or even just simple stuff like the back and forward buttons that are usually on the side that make it a hell of a lot more usable for day-to-day use. You're giving up a lot of the niceties here for the ultimate in lightweight gaming. And as someone who rocks 2 mice permanently anyway, an MX Master 3 for editing and sort of browsing, and an Endgame Gear OP1 8K for gaming, I don't mind that so much. The other big catch is the price. Buying one of the initial run of just 10 units will set you back a cool 250 European shillings, euros, which is a hell of a lot of money for a mouse. To be fair, a lot of that cost goes straight into the PCBs, which I think are 120 euros each, which is a hefty chunk. But with this level of craft, quality, customization, and just outright being a hell of a good mouse, I can see why you might want to splash that much cash for one of these. Of course, with only 10 being up for sale, if you do want one, you might need to act fast. If you do miss this batch, RIGID are in production of their own PCBs for much more consumer-friendly mice, which should be coming somewhat soon. So maybe check them out on their socials if you're interested in that. As for the CLR1, it's obvious this isn't for everyone. The price alone will put 95% of people off of it, but seeing as how there's only 10 on offer, well, if you can stomach the unique shape and grip, the lack of buttons and weird customization steps, this is an absolutely incredible and truly unique gaming mouse. This can't really be judged on value. It's both art and product, and at least on the product side, I sure am impressed. Of course, those are my thoughts, but I'd love to hear yours in the comments down below. What do you think of the CLR1? Are you interested in this, or is this just straight up not for you? Let me know in the comments down below. I'll leave a link to their website if you are interested in checking this out. And otherwise, if you want to see more videos like this one, you can hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell notification icon. If you want to check out my own hardware, the open source response time or the latency testing tool that I use to test peripherals like this, then head to osrtt.com, that's linked in the description. And otherwise, yeah, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to check out plenty of other peripheral reviews on the end cards. I think the last mouse that I reviewed was the AKKO Pulse 1. So that should be there. And otherwise, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you all in the next video.